Okay. Hey, what's up? So, yep, live just like I promised earlier today. Um, this one's not going to be for long. And I know I used to say that in my other ones, and they end up being, 2 hours long. But this time, I'm not really expecting to be on that long because I got stuff that I need to get done, and I got to get ready for tomorrow. And tomorrow, there's more stuff to get done, plus work. But I thought I would give you guys some updates on some things and share a couple of things just to let you guys know what's going on and what I'm dealing with and all that. Don't worry, nothing bad. There's nothing bad going on as far as I know. Well, okay, let me amend that because there's plenty bad going on around. There's nothing bad really going on with me. Let's put it that way, as far as I know. Um, but I'm basically, well, number one, I've moved. You've probably noticed different, surroundings here. Um, I'm in a whole new spot. I'm still in Washington, and I actually didn't really move that far from where I originally was at. And I'm actually also going to be still traveling back and forth to where I used to live at. I'll still be around there. But for the most part, I'm now in a new location, new environment. Me and my son are basically you know me. I don't really like giving too much of my personal life out on net, and I really don't like putting other people's business out. So all I'm going to say is that I'm in a new environment, in a new spot, and sharing a living space with some other people who have plenty of space to share. It just so happened that this is kind of it's ultimately a really good move for me and my son. So that's why we're here. And I just recently was able to set my computer up and everything. So, granted, it's not exactly in the best area. I might have to move my desk, but for now, it's still in a really good spot. And if worst comes to worst, I'm probably just gonna like put a screen. I've been wanting to have a screen behind me to do recordings anyway, so it's not really that much of a difference. I also need to hang that thing up. It's gonna be one of my favorite pieces of art that I recently bought. Some of you might recognize it, but whatever. Anyway, moved at a new spot doesn't mean that things are going to be difficult for a recording video. In fact, where I'm at right now, we actually have our own personal yard. The other videos that I've been, the other videos I've recorded were at the front of my apartment. With that really big, beautiful tree and the big yard in there. Not really going to be able to record things over there anymore. Well, I don't think it would be right to do that since I'm not living there anymore. I guess if I wanted to set up a camera, I could, but it feels weird recording there now that I'm not there. But where I'm at now, really big yard, lots of space. I'll still be able to do cutting stuff. And speaking of cutting stuff, obviously there's going to be more sword stuff on the way. In fact, I can guarantee you there's at least two more reviews coming because I got two things that showed up. If you guys saw the picture, then you know that this showed up. And, excuse me. And this showed up. Now, this one I was really looking forward to because, well, look at it. It's a jian, and it's one that I and a lot of other people have been closely eyeing because when LK Chen is mostly known for putting out swords from much older dynasties. Han Dynasty, Sui Dynasty, Chu Kingdom period, so on. So the problem is, it's not really a problem, but the thing is, most practitioners of Chinese martial arts who train in weapons were training in weapons that are based on Ming and Qing Dynasty designs. So many of us were wondering, well, consider how cool their Han Dynasty swords are. What are the Ming ones going to if they ever make a Ming one, that's closer to what we practice with. So how's that going to come out? Well, this finally showed up, and I have not really been able to put this thing fully through its paces yet. That's coming soon, and then I'll be able to do my full review. But I could say just from first impressions, this thing's pretty cool. It's at the right dimensions. The blade is sharp as hell. It's beautifully balanced. In fact, when I first took this thing out the box and I lifted it up like this, I was shocked at the fact that it was balanced. It feels great with the scabbard still on the blade. That was the very first thing I noticed. I'm like, what the hell? And then, of course, I took the scabbard off, and it was like, oh. In fact, I first thought, okay, this must be wrong because Ming Dynasty jian are known to be heavier than Han Dynasty ones. So the fact that this felt like this, I'm like, something's got to be wrong. No, this thing's over 2 pounds. It just doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't. And where it's balanced too, just right. Look at this. Look at that. Do you see this? Oh my God. So yeah, and that handguard, by the way, is huge for my standards anyway. Like, again, people practicing in Western sword arts are like, that ain't big. That's barely the right size. But no, for me, this is pretty big. Really big. But not uncomfortably so. Grip is nice and tight. I haven't noticed anything weird with it. Tested it out already. I tested the sharpness of this thing. It's very sharp. Scabbard's nice. Weight's nice. It pretty much matches the specs that I see on the main website in terms of where the balance point is at, where the weight is, how it feels, all, stuff like that. So this one's going to be fun to really put through its paces. I tried practicing a few forms with this and works really well with those. So I could just say right off the bat, this is probably the one that, contemporary practitioners were waiting for, because this is the closest thing to the quote unquote Tai Chi sword that you can get in terms of its design, its balance, its weight, things like that. But then there's this oddity, and this has got to be the strangest sword that I've ever encountered. I mean, look at it. In fact, I was really shocked. I've never seen anything like this before. No, have you? Honestly, like before LK Chen put this on the website, have you seen anything like this? Because I certainly hadn't. And when they first, showcased this before they even put it out, I'm like, what in the hell is? Turns out, yeah, there was a time period of a short, brief period of time in Chinese martial history where, yeah, guys and horses were using these things. And if you haven't seen this yet, well, let me show you the other really interesting thing about it. Yeah, that's what a handle is. Yeah. In the scabbard. Yeah, this one threw me for a loop, but, well, that and the fact that, the whole legend of Mulan, well, most likely if she, was running, a lot of people are pretty sure she existed, but, I don't want to get into that. But, yeah, this is most likely the weapon that she would have used. Like, as far as what sword, but yeah. Yeah. Man. And it's interesting to me how this blade's not as long as some of the other dough that they sell. Also very beautifully done. Very thick spine, very sharp edge. What else is new, right? But there's a lot of authority to the cut, but it's still, it's not going to strain your wrist or forearms or anything. This one's also going to be fun to work with, as far as like, test cutting and all that. But yeah, this one just threw me for a loop, and it's a nice piece. It's a really nice piece. It's just a very strange piece. Like this is definitely one for the collector, or I guess somebody who wants to practice with a zube doll or, a straight backed doll and wants theirs to be very unique. Or maybe if you wanted this to be like your cane sword or something, now it doesn't want to go back in the scabbard. There you go. I guess, that's the only thing I can think of, if you're going to be using this as a cane sword, or if you just want something really interesting in your collection, hey, you want to see something you've never seen before? Check this out. Like that's pretty much what I see this as. And it's very interesting, very well balanced, by the way. I'm not feeling any stress on my wrist or anything like that. You could tell it has, this thing is going to do some damage if you swing it at something, but it's just very, very unique. So, get back in there. Yeah. So, still, that is, and again, they use this on horseback. So, just, by the way, you might see some people moving back and forth. I'm sorry, and I apologize for them because they probably weren't expecting the camera to be on, but I did warn them. I warned them all day that I was going to do this. And I've already seen people asking, priority questions, so I better hurry up and get into that. Wing083 is asking me, how is the scabbard fittings? I've already ordered one myself when it was first announced. I'm assuming you're talking about this because this popped up when I was holding this up. Of course, it's heavier than my Milk Tree Saber, which is at 900 grams. Yeah, this is, I think this is heavier than 900 grams. There is a scale over there that I could borrow, but I think it's slightly off. So I hesitate to use that to try to tell you exactly what this is, but I could tell you that this is definitely at least 2 pounds or more. I would say that this is at least 2 pounds, 3 ounces. Though when I weighed this on the scale over there, it was like 2 pounds, 6 ounces, and it does not feel like 2 pounds, 6 ounces. And as good as they are at balancing things, I don't think they're that good. So I'm going to guess more around like 2 pounds, 3 ounces. But when I weigh it again with my different scale, then I'll be able to tell you. But it definitely, I'll say it weighs more than that, but it doesn't feel like it at all. And I've held some pretty heavy swords in my time. This is, in my opinion, this is very maneuverable, very well balanced. You saw what the balance point was. But of course, balance points really aren't everything when it comes to a sword and how well it handles. You got weight to consider, and you also have the shape of it and how good the handle is and things like that. But handles pretty well. You're asking about the scabbard fittings. All seems to be mild steel. I have to go to the website to see exactly what they made out of, but it's steel. It's tight. Nothing's sliding. I've had this for a few days, and I have not noticed anything weird like that. The grip is nice and there we go. So maybe it's not that tight, but it was tight enough so it's somewhat safe. But if you shake it a bit, it's probably going to go loose. But it's enough so that I'm not really too worried about it. So there you go. So then the second priority question is from James Morgan. Thank you very much. And also thank you very much, Wing0, for your question. It says, what are your thoughts on the last Airbender meteor sword from... I haven't checked that. I have no clue. Though, now that you're saying it's the last Airbender meteor sword, now I'm getting... Okay, if they're making what I think they're making, then that's rather funny to me. And I'll tell you why in a bit once I see what this sword is. But if it's what I think it is, there's a funny story behind that one. So let me see. Swords of Northshire. And we're looking for... Let's see here. See, this is the problem when you do things live. You can't edit this part out. So let's see here. We're looking for the meteor sword, right? They're going to pop up. Yep, there it is. Going for $279, so $280. And yeah, see, that's what cracks me the hell up. See, if you've seen this, then you guys already know what I'm about to tell you, or at least you should have some idea of what I'm about to tell you. It does look nice, though. See, is this an 8-sided or a 6-sided? I gotta take a closer look at that blade. Yeah, they pretty much just simply copied it. That's all they did. That's all they... Oh, it just amuses me. It's like they kind of went back. That's what they did. They just went back. Okay, all right. Let me tell you what the deal is with that sword. I have to say, just from you looking at it, it looks rather cool, but I couldn't tell you how well it functions or anything because I'm not holding it. It looks, the blade looks pretty thick. What's the weight on this one? Yeah, it weighs as much as I thought it would. Looks like a really thick, beefy blade. Probably is pretty damn sharp. Okay, and it's kind of funny that they're calling it the Avatar Last Airbender Silken Meteor Sword when the blade isn't even black. But who knows? Maybe they did put whatever. All right, so that sword, that Airbender Meteor Sword, is based off of, that one sword I have, my first Han Jian, before later on I found out about LK Chen and found out what Han Jian are really like. That sword was made before Airbender. There were forges in China already making those before Airbender showed up, and then you see that sword in that cartoon. That sword the reason how they were influenced to make it was because the guy that who was helping, who he basically was their consultant for martial arts for the show, and I don't know why the hell I'm forgetting his name, considering that he's well known and I really should know his name, but for some idiotic reason it's flowing out the hell of my head. He owned one of those Hanjian swords. So when they visited his school and they saw it, they're like, "Oh my god, that sword looks cool," which, well, it does. So they were influenced by it so much that they threw it into the cartoon. But most people, on the planet or in the West or whatever, they've never seen a sword like that before. So to them, that's Soka's meteor sword. It's not a Han, or should I say, a sword influenced by Han Dynasty swords? Because if we're going to be realistic, that's really what it is. So now these guys are selling a sword and calling it the Avatar, Soka's meteor sword, when really it's a copy of a sword that somebody forged based on Han Dynasty swords. In this particular piece, there's really nothing about it that really says this is from the show. I look at it and it's, this is yet another copy of that rather famous design that's pretty much flooded the Chinese martial arts market by now. That's why it amuses me. This is not me saying that it's a bad sword. It's just that how it's being recognized by people it's funny to me. It's being recognized in a roundabout way. It's sort of like how all katana after Kill Bill suddenly became Hattori Hanzo swords. Remember that? Remember when Kill Bill came out? Like, people already knew about katana, but after that movie came out, suddenly everybody wanted a Hattori Hanzo sword, even though they don't really exist. Do you know what I mean? So and then later on, there was like this brief period in time when if a katana was very well made and it wasn't like one of those cheap pieces of crap that you'd get from a Bud K catalog, they went, "Oh, that must be a Hattori Hanzo then." It's sort of like that with this. Like, and they see the sword, they're like, "Oh, is it the Airbender sword?" Yes and no. So, that's what amuses me about it. But as far as how good it could be in the hand, like if you can cut with it, stuff like that, most likely. I mean, again, this looks like the ones that I tend to see in the market. With that really heavy blade, pretty thick. It's a 6-sided one, folded steel. The wrapping looks okay, though it's, it's that round broom handle type hilt, so that's going to be a problem for some people. The fittings look nice and thick. It's the typical thing that I tend to see. Going for basically going for $280. That's standard at this point for a sword like that. From what I've seen, handle length 27 centimeters. The blade is short though. 76 centimeters, really? Those used to be around 80. Whatever. I'm just saying that's a very that's a one-handed length blade going on a two-handed hilt. Okay, whatever. I've seen that a lot too. So, all right, next one. I haven't even gotten to what I wanted to finish with my updates and stuff, but I got to answer these questions. Wing Zero again, and again, thank you. So I was wondering if you took the Soaring Sky Jian by LK and put it on a complex hilt, would it be a nice side sword? I think so. And you saw that one too, right? I recently saw that Soaring Sky Jian, and I was like, let me just say, that particular sword, I'm going to start hating this dude because he just keeps putting out swords. It's like, I want that. I need space to have furniture and stuff too, not just for swords, The thing about that particular sword, it's so close to my ideal piece. It is so close to my ideal piece. The blade is that, I could tell it's that same type of, light, well balanced, but just enough heft for a good cut, but fast for good rapid thrust. I could tell it's that sort of blade, but it's not the diamond profile. It's the 8-sided profile. And I've wanted that for a while, but I wanted that for a two-handed sword. And guess what? The blade is 36 inches? I can't convert it in my head in centimeters right now, but it's because I'm not that good. Sooner or later I'll be able to. But 36 inches? 36 or 34. Even if it's 34. Now, let me check. I think it's 34. I might be lying. Let me not give you guys bad information. Okay? I hate giving people bad information. That's one of my pet peeves. So according to them, 34. Okay, so I said 36. I was wrong. 34. That's still pretty long for a one-handed sword. 34 inches as far as Chinese martial arts goes, I see that now teetering into two-handed sword territory. That's the length that I wanted for my original quote-unquote hanjian, the one with the complex hilt and all that. But that one's 32. This one's 34. I kept saying to LK Chen, I keep saying to them over and over, if you take the fittings from that sword and put it on one of your guys' blades and make it at least 34 to 38 inches, you will make me a very happy man. This is pretty much teetering on that because now it doesn't have the same fittings, but it's got the handle length is the same as the Flying Phoenix, meaning you can hold it in either one or two hands. But it's balanced for one-handed fighting, but you could do it for two hands if you wanted to. That's kind of what I want with this. And if that thing handles the way I think it is, that might replace my Flying Phoenix as my favorite sword. Because the Flying Phoenix, honestly, is my favorite sword overall out of my collection. It just handles so well. Even with its simplistic fittings, it's still just a sword that I love to practice with. Forms, drills, cutting, whatever. This one might supplant it. Then again, this one here already is like kind of winning me over too. So, but I haven't really cut with this thing yet, so I can't really say. All right, so let me hurry up with all the other stuff that I wanted to say. Then if I can, I'll answer some questions, and then soon I gotta go because it's already 8 o'clock over here. And I sort of lost track of where I was. Okay, I was talking about the swords. Part of the reason why I'm doing this live stream and showing you these is because I didn't get a chance to show you guys the unboxing of these. I wanted to. Because I know you guys like it when, they show up at my front door and then I'm able to open it up and then show you guys, look at this is crazy. Here's the problem. These things showed up in the middle of me moving. And like the first one to show up was this. And the living room was already a mess because I'm like transferring things here and there. And I'm like, I can't really do it now. And then this showed up just after, sorry, camera's shaking. This showed up just after I moved. And I literally had maybe half an hour before I had to rush out the door to go to work. So that wasn't the time to do a live stream. But my friends got to see me, open it up and they were like looking at it like, oh my God. And a couple of them got to hold it and they were like, holy shit. So it's like, yeah, this one impressed a lot of people. And the other one also impressed people, but they also like, wow, I've never seen a sword like that, which is the same way I felt. Oh, and someone's saying hi to me. Oh, hi, Joel. How you doing? So, okay. So that's the main reason why I'm doing this right now. This kind of make it up to you guys for not doing the unboxing. You at least get to see me talk about them here, which I just did. So, they both impressed me. So far, I'm not really seeing any negatives to those. But again, I have not put them through their paces yet with cutting stuff up. But I've got plenty of bottles getting ready to chop stuff up, which leads me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. This stuff, by the way, is really good. Like if you like green tea, stuff's really good. Next thing I want to talk, the stuff that I used to cut with. You guys know that I mostly use bottles. I mostly use bottles because tatami is expensive. And I'm doing okay with my, the way I work, my line of work. I work at IT. I'm not making buku bucks, but I'm meeting my bills, and that's good. The problem is tatami is expensive. Even when they're cheap, they're expensive. I know that makes no sense. Allow me to explain. Generally speaking, I usually can find a good deal in tatami where you can get about 10 to 12 of them, and it ends up being $76, which, okay, that's sort of expensive, but that's cheaper than what I normally see on other places. Other places are charging a ridiculous amount. For $76 or so, $76, $78, 10 of them to 12 of them, not bad, right? I could just fork over the money for that. It should show up soon, right? Then you look at the shipping. And it's about $70 freaking dollars for shipping. It's like I'm paying. That's insane. Look, I'm paying over $140 or close to $150 freaking dollars for mats that I'm gonna just chop up and throw away. That's kind of insane. And then to make the one place that I'm looking at that I want to order from, that shipping is their cheapest price and it's UPS. And I hate UPS. Well, okay, I hate UPS around here. I've had nothing but trouble with these people ever since ever since I moved out here and I started getting things from them. Nothing ever goes smooth with them, ever. It's guaranteed that I'm going to be waiting at least 2 days extra from the time that the thing is supposed to show up on my doorstep before I get it. Because the day it's supposed to show up, I could literally be standing out at the front door waiting, and somehow I'll turn around and then there's a sticker on that door. We missed you. It's like that. It's really that bad. They just do not want. It feels like there's like this special oath that they take around here, where whatever the date says they're supposed to show up, they're not going to show up. Like they can't. Like maybe they'll lose their firstborn child or something if they drop that package off at the time that they say they're going to. And then you got to like wait at least 2 days before it shows up again. And you better hope that you catch them, because then you might wait even longer, or you're just going to have to go down to their station and pick it up there. And when I say pick it up there, I don't mean at the general UPS store that you can tend to see everywhere. No, I'm talking about going to the places where all the trucks go. I've had to do that twice, where I've had to drive down to the place where all the stuff is dumped, and the place that most people don't get to see. Like I've actually driven down there, like, yo, where's my box? And I had to get it that way. I never have to deal with that with the post office. Now, I know people love knocking the post office at there. The post office is horrible. They have never given me problems, no matter what state I've lived in. If something's coming to me through the United States Postal Service, I know I'm going to get it. Sometimes the stuff shows up to me at my door in a bit of a diminished condition, but not all that often. Most of the time, they will show up on my doorstep just fine. I can't say the same for UPS. Now, that being said, to be fair, they did drop off, when I moved out here, they did drop off a package on the day that they said they would. So maybe it's neighborhood by neighborhood. I've had other people tell me, I've never had a problem with UPS. Makes me wonder, like, do you live in a rich neighborhood or something? Like, I always have problems with them. So them being the ones that are probably going to be delivering the tatami mats on top of the fact that, it's a huge freaking shipping. And if I want to go make it go even faster, and I'm spending even hundreds of dollars just on shipping for something that I'm going to be slicing up the pieces, it's just insane to me. I'm not saying that I'm not going to do it at some point. I'm just saying that that's why it's taken. Like, why doesn't he jump with tatami? Because it's expensive. And the one place I want to get it to are going to be having the clowns in brown dropping it off at my front door. Doesn't put me in a hurry to hit the click button. You know what I mean? Just saying. But yes, I'm still going to be cutting these, but sooner or later I'll have the tatamis. And then what I might want to do at that point is revisit a lot of the other swords that I've reviewed and see how well they do with those. That I think would be really cool. Like if I get the tatami mats and put them up and then go, okay, now let's retest some of these. We'll see how that goes. Also, something else that about these swords, I know that most of the swords that I've been reviewing have all been from LK Chen. The main reason why is because they're the guys who are dropping swords off at my front door. And again, I don't ask for these. They just show up. And they genuinely seem to want my opinion on them. And I tell them, even if I'm impressed, I try to find, because nothing is perfect. If I see something that makes me go, I'm going to jump all over it. Because, I mean, people have to spend money on this. And as somebody who knows what it's like to be broke, and who knows what it's like to be broke and have a hobby that's expensive, or have a passion or something that you're into that costs money, the last thing you want to do is spend money on something and have it fall apart on you. Or spend money on something that you think is awesome, and then you get it, and it's like, what the hell? So as somebody who's had that happen to me several times, that's something I'm hoping that I, can prevent on your guys' end. So even with a company that I will admit I do like, I'm going to say, if, you need to work on this, or no, this is not right. And you guys see me do that with LK Chen before. But they seem to actually appreciate it. And I have noticed that, like, when I say you got to work on this and later on it gets worked on, I'm like, whoa, okay. And there were a couple of other people who had private messaged me saying that, I got this sword and it came out great. So that's cool. And now that it seems that there are other people on YouTube who are also doing reviews for them, that's hopefully going to help them to constantly keep improving, which they've been doing for quite some time now. But yeah, they're the only people who drop swords off on my channel. And my channel is quite small, and I'm a nobody on the internet. So that's pretty huge for me. Like, I'm not Skull. I'm not, I'm not Easton. I'm not these guys who are much better established and have better run channels. And they know what they're doing with their reviews and all that. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not well known. So for a company to go, okay, we're going to send them some stuff for review, that's huge. That's why I keep having all these swords that I'm reviewing is coming from LK Chen. It's not that that is something that kind of worries me. Like, I'm hoping that people are thinking, oh, he's just being a commercial for them. I may like them a lot, but I refuse to be bought off by anyone. So, it's the reason why I keep having their swords. Again, it's because they're like, hey, we're sending you this for review. Or, well, actually, if I'm going to be honest, it's, by the way, check your mail. This is going to be showing up. They never tell me when they're going to send me something, and they never tell me that they're going to send me something. All they do is say, hey, today something should be showing up at your porch. That's all I get. Which, in a weird sort of way, I kind of appreciate, because I know that sounds insane, but it's like, okay, that means that this is not, like this special business arrangement. Okay, where's my next product? No, it's just more like, by the way, here it is. Whoa, okay. And so when I open up the box and I'm doing the live stream, I'm just as like, whoa, like, I can't wait to see what this is as you are, which is pretty cool. But the reason I'm mentioning all of that is because later this fall, I will have at least one sword from a different company. And it's one that I've been looking forward to. And that one is going to produce at least 2 videos. I can tell you that much right now. One where I review it, and another one that, just by its very nature, means that I'm going to need to do some interesting comparisons with it. So that one's going to be fun. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's what I want to say, just on the sword end of things. Another thing that I wanted to mention, and you guys are, another thing I wanted to mention is the camera that I'm using, which now this is just more into updates and rambling and not anything super important, but just wanted to give you guys, an idea of, how I do things on this channel. Again, this is a hobbyist channel. This is as fun as as nice as it is to, I know some people, they want to get that YouTube or internet fame, or they want to be YouTube famous and make the buku bucks. This has never really been the focus of this channel. This channel's been up since 2007. Yeah. And it's a channel where I pretty much put up whatever the hell I feel like. It's a channel that originally, the only reason why I had the channel was to look up videos on YouTube on martial arts, because I love the fact that at the time it was the only place you got to see a lot of unique Chinese martial arts forms that you couldn't really find anywhere else. And then Kevin Biomech had a really interesting video on education in the US that I felt was so good that I just felt compelled to respond to it. But the comment section back then, you were limited to 200 characters or something. And I couldn't explain everything I wanted to say. And this was back when you were actually able to directly respond to someone's video with your own. I literally went out, bought a webcam, threw it on there, made my response to him, and that was that. But people liked that response, so he made his response. I've told you guys the story before. This is how the channel blew up. And since then, it simply has been something that I use as a hobby to communicate with like-minded people about the things that happen to be in my mind. Martial arts just happens to be one of those things. I know lately most people kind of consider my channel to be, oh, yours is just a sword channel. Not really. It is a big focus, but that's simply because it's a big focus up here. This is really a channel where I talk about whatever the hell I feel like, which is why in the old days, it was just more rambling and philosophy and stuff on politics, which I still bring up every now and then, because believe it or not, when I'm off the camera, besides martial arts stuff, a lot of the time I'm thinking about and debating with other people about stuff of the day. A lot of it doesn't make it on this channel, but I'm thinking some of it's going to be coming back to that. Anyway, I'm getting a bit off track. The thing is, for the longest time, most of my stuff has been on webcams. And this one is a Logitech. Was it a C? It's one of their. It was one of their first really good HP. What am I saying? HP. One of their HD high definition ones. It's supposed to be recording at 1080p. Problem with this freaking camera and why I've been thinking about replacing it for a while is because it seems to have a problem when you try to push it to 1080p at 60 frames per second. It was supposed to do it. It claims to be able to do it. It can't really do it. The most I can get out of this is 1080p at 30 frames per second. Now, if I'm just sitting here talking to you guys, it doesn't really matter, right? But when I'm then splicing in footage from outside where my camera is able to do 1080, my freaking camera on my damn phone is able to record at 1080p at 60 frames per second, and I got to cut it down to 30 because of this, frustrating as hell. What's even more frustrating is when, because there's not, like, even now you can tell the lighting in here is not that good. So I need to have my lights and all that type. I'm going to have to set up lights here and have it shining on there. And even then, I'm having to do all this freaking balancing to get it to work. And then not only that, but there's also a chance if I got a little too much running in the background that the sound's going to be desynced, which is insane considering that nothing else seems to have this problem with, desyncing or messing up or stuttering. Okay, I'm working with a Ryzen 1600X chip, a Ryzen 3, it's a Ryzen 5 1600X chip, first generation Ryzen. And I know the other Ryzens are better. They're awesome. But the first generation Ryzen was no slouch either, which is why I wanted one. I'm able to have a video rendering and have YouTube on, and I'm playing a game at the same time and not noticing any dips in frame rate, okay? So there's no reason why this freaking thing shouldn't be able to run at 1080p at 30 frames per second, but it does. So I was thinking about getting another overall camera to be able to do my stuff without these problems. And I was shopping around and I found a camcorder from Canon that I was going to get, but then I told Skull about that. And he was like, well, I happen to have a camera similar to that. And so I ended up buying one off of him instead. And I'm glad that he decided to give me some of his older equipment, because now I got this little Panasonic unit here, which so far seems pretty cool. But the one thing that I should have asked before I grabbed it was if I'm able to use this as a webcam. And it turns out the answer is, okay, the short answer is no. The long answer is yes, but I'm going to need a capture card. So now I'm going to have to go out and get a cheap capture card to then connect to this, to then connect to the tower. And this is now going to be what I'm going to be using for overall recording everything. So hopefully that means that things are going to look at least a little bit better than the way they look now, because I'm pretty sure right now you're staring at this and you're not impressed. I don't blame you. But then again, I don't treat this as a career, so I don't have all the special lighting and background screens and blue screen and all that. It's literally me just in front of a freaking webcam. And then when I want to go outside to record myself cutting stuff up, I set this thing up on a tiny little tripod and do my recordings there. To be fair, though, the camera on this is actually really good. If it wasn't for this, I probably would have no use for this. Maybe I should just set this up and do my recordings with that. Because again, this is actually a really good phone too. Besides camera, this is the OnePlus. If there's noise upstairs, by the way, sorry, it's just other people there. But this is a OnePlus 6T. Damn good phone. I know it's an older phone, but it's a damn good freaking phone. The fact that it got me moving away from HT should tell you something, right? So, anyways, yeah. Now I'm just saying, hopefully I should have, my videos should hopefully look better. My next few videos that I'm going to be recording are going to be here. Yep, you're going to be seeing random people coming through. But sorry, I did warn them. And there's another reason why I got to cut this off, because it's just to be fair to them. But I will have later on. I'll probably have a screen, or even later than that, I might end up being in a different location. But yeah, this is what it's going to look like besides outside footage. So yeah, I'm slowly upgrading my equipment to make it a little bit better for you guys. But this is still ultimately a hobbyist channel, and it's just a channel where I just say whatever the hell I want to talk about. And now he's marching upstairs. But yeah, this is just a channel where I just talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about, whether it's martial arts or swords or history or politics or what type of hat that I bought for myself or video games. which I am going to. I know I sort of made it as a joke on my comment section, like when I put out that message a couple of days ago. But I know I really do mean to put up a video on Cyberpunk because I can't wait for that game to come out. And it also has been pissing me off that it seems that all the so many freaking so-called journalists talking about the game seem to have no freaking clue what Cyberpunk is about. So I gotta keep seeing dumbass comments like, they really should be making, we don't like how these people are being portrayed. Oh, this gang's called Animals. That means it must be degrading to the. You don't know what the Cyberpunk is about, do you? You don't. Or how this is, in the wake of what the hell's been going on recently with the police, maybe you want to change that aspect of the game. Why? And this is me saying it. You saw my last video. This is me going, what the hell is wrong with you people? This is Cyberpunk, not the game, the genre. The whole point of it is talking about a world that's gone to crap. It's all about dealing in a world that is ruled by corruption. That's the point. The point is struggling against that. Why are you going to... Yeah, I need to do a whole video on this because it's really starting to get on my nerves. This is the sort of crap that just makes me want to just... Yeah, it just frustrates me. Like I get that they're trying, like some of these people are trying to speak from like their heart is in the right place, but they're really ignorant. It really does. Like, I mean, you remember that debacle that we had like months ago where you have a dude trying to explain to a black dude who made the whole series to begin with that his portrayal of people is problematic. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Cyberpunk, that genre has been one of my favorites for a long time because I'm not just simply talking about the game, but the game itself or the genre of RPGs, which I have played. Like I've played a bit of, I played a little bit of Cyberpunk a long time ago, and I've played a little bit of can't believe it, Shadowrun. And by the way, if you ask my opinion, which one I think is better, I like the atmosphere and the general world of the Cyberpunk world better, but Shadowrun's is a better overall game. Gotta be honest. I like the world of Cyberpunk better, and hell, it was the one that really introduced that to RPGs to begin with. But the engine's a little. I don't think it's as bad as Rifts, but it's a bit problematic. But Shadowrun is a bit of a better run game. I'm sorry, it is. I mean, and this is me again saying that I like Cyberpunk better. But I'm being real. I'm being honest. This is my opinion, though. You guys probably can come up with better arguments as to why that engine is better than the Shadowrun engine. And I'm not going to say that you guys are wrong because some people have certain preferences. I've had some people look at me going, hell, there's a couple of people here who have been playing RPGs. Like, they have some major RPG sessions that I run here every night. And some real old school, like old veterans of RPGs who have been telling me the rest wasn't that bad. I played a couple of games. I thought it was all right. I'm looking at them like, really? No, it's not really all that bad. No, sure. Like, sure as you like, of course, you got to like house rule a few things. And then maybe you don't want to use this book. And maybe you don't want to use these classes. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. If you have to start tweaking it just to get your game running, there's a problem. But yeah, I do need to do something on that sooner or later. Because yeah, Cyberpunk's coming out soon and I can't wait for that game. I might not be making any videos for for a year after that game comes out. Just warning you. Just letting you know that I might just disappear off the face of the map. Either Cyberpunk's going to take me out or some random crazy person out there when this whole country collapses might take me out. But I'm just saying, there's a chance that I might disappear. Just kidding. I don't want to scare you guys. Scott McGregor, thanks for the tea money. I really appreciate it. I should show off my tea collection one of these days. It's huge. I'm not just simply talking about this stuff because I obviously brew tea and I got a lot of it and a lot of different types. One of these days I should talk about that. So, but yeah, thanks for the tea money. Cody, hello, and thank you for your contribution as well. So there was something else that I wanted to mention to you guys. Like I talked about the swords. I should have like the Gale Wind and the Dragon Sparrow. I should have those out. I'm turning them out as soon as I can. Just need to actually, let's see, tomorrow I'll do some light cutting. Next week is when I'm going to really get hardcore to get the footage together that I need to properly review these. Sometime in August, I should definitely have those reviews out. And then when September hits or the middle of fall hits, I'm going to have another one. I know for a fact because there's something that I am expecting to show up in the mail soon. And that one I'm keeping as a surprise. But when I've been waiting for that one for a while. It's cool that it's finally showing up. So I talked about that, talked about the camera, talked about Cyberpunk because I know I'm going to do something on that. There was something else, but I don't remember what it is. And once when I turn this thing off, suddenly it's going to pop in my head like, oh my God, that's what I forgot to talk about. What the hell was it? Honestly, I don't know. I'll probably make a video out of it or something. But I just want to give you guys an update on, how things are, what I'm planning on doing next. So there will be some more sword reviews, and of course on the swords that I just showed, the Dragon Sparrow and the Gale Wind. They should be showing up sometime in August. I will be doing one on Cyberpunk. I owe you guys one on Star Wars, because I really, really need to just get my gripes with the choreography of those movies off my chest. There's plenty of other gripes about them, I could talk about as well, but there's plenty of other people on YouTube already doing that, so I don't think you guys want my opinion. I already told you guys my opinion overall on the new series. Wasted potential. Absolutely wasted potential. All they need to do is forget all the other complaints. Just a plan. Just have a freaking plan. You mean to tell me you bought a franchise, you were planning to make a trilogy, and you didn't plan out your trilogy before you had your first set of Okay. All right. You guys are multi-billionaires. I'm sure you guys know exactly what you're doing. Nothing you're going to do is going to go wrong. Nothing's going to happen. The 3 movies that came out, sure winners. Nobody's complaining. You don't need a plan. Why you need a plan for? Anyways, yeah, I'm just going to focus on the choreography because there's some things about it I like, at least with the older films, and then the newer films, it's just like, I'm like, what are you doing? I honestly feel that when you look at the older trilogy and you start like just looking at the timeline of when the movies came out, it's like overall, it's like the choreography got worse. And I know that that's not the way people look at it. They generally tend to look at it. Oops, somebody did. Oh man, Wing Zero. That's what I forgot. Forgive me for that. Please forgive me for that. I will answer your question shortly on the shipping swords recommended. I am so sorry. I'll get to that in a sec. I just wanted to say that, generally speaking, whenever I talk to people about the choreography, most people's idea is the first trilogy was okay, the second trilogy was awesome with its sword choreography, and the third ones are horrible. And the way I look at it, the first ones were actually pretty good if you knew what to look for. The second ones were hit or miss, and the third ones were just horrible. That's the way I look at it. And I'll explain why when I finally get off my ass and make that freaking video, which it really shouldn't be hard to do. All I gotta do is just set up a webcam and actually finally get my thoughts in order and talk about it. But anyway, Wing Zero, I am really sorry. I don't know why I missed your question. You're asking shipping swords. Honestly, USPS. I never have a problem. And I'm talking both ways. Whenever something or sword or anything has been sent to me via the United States Postal Service, it gets to me. And whenever I've shipped swords out to other people and I've done it USPS, it gets to them cheaply. No problems. In fact, the one event that straight up made me go, okay, UPS, was when I tried sending a sword out. Like, it was already bad enough me trying, not just swords, any object I was trying to get from UPS. Freaking problem. Like, you got to have your freaking Geneva Conventions just to get your freaking package. But now here I am trying to send something out, trying to send a sword out that somebody paid good money for. And UPS kept being a roadblock every time. I went to their website. I filled everything out. I paid for the freaking service. I got my box together, did everything, asked my questions, making sure it can be sent out there, gave them the damn box. 2 days later, the damn box gets sent back to my front door. Oh, you didn't fill out the customs work right. I did it exactly the way they told me to. Oh, it's not right. went, redid it, rechecked everything, went down to the station, had the woman look over my paperwork. Oh, it's fine. This is going to get sent right. There's no problems, right? No problems. 2 days later, back at my front door. Oh, we're not going to be able to send this. International rules about this. You can't send these weapons out. That afternoon, go to the post office, paid less than half the price that these people were charging me for to send it out there. The guy got it 2 days later. No problems. You live in the United States, you want to send something out, USPS. And honestly, if you are sending something out, please do it. They need your support right now. We got a freaking Muppet in the White House trying to get rid of that service. Please support the post office. What they're doing. I didn't want to get into politics, but let me just briefly mention something that happens in the United States a lot. One thing that people love doing is they'll see a public service that's getting money that they think that they deserve. Like they're looking at the National Treasury and they're looking at what the National Treasury is funding, thinking that doesn't belong to them, it belongs to me. I mean, I'm not putting any money in that money jar, but I deserve most of the money in that money jar. I don't care if the common people are mostly putting money into it. They're supposed to. They're supposed to be giving money to me. What do you mean the Postal Service is making this much money? F that. I want that money. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to convince these people to defund them. When you defund it, then they can't do certain things well, or they can't afford it at all, so they'll stop doing it. Then people will complain. Then when they complain, then we say, hey, we got this private service that does it better. And we fool them into supporting the private service. And then we completely get rid of the public service, and then we can charge them whatever the hell we want for the private service. It works every time because people are stupid. They did it with education. They did it with a whole lot of other things. Like there's so many things that they do. They'll defund it, pull the money out, then say it sucks. People believe it sucks. Then they'll come up with the private service. People move on to the private service, get rid of the public one, and then the private service charges them way more for less than what they promised. Because people don't seem to realize there's a difference between offering a service and then paying them and then getting paid for it, and then offering a service in order to make profit. The focus isn't the service, it's the profit. And that's the difference. The private industry ones, we want to make lots of money. We'll give them bare minimum and say it's awesome. And the things that they could be getting, we won't give them, because if they do that, they won't be able to give us as much money for it. Or we'll tell them it's coming down the line. Meanwhile, the rest of the world, they got a higher version of it. Right now, we're paying out the ass for internet. Meanwhile, other places around the world, they're getting higher speeds for much less. They can do that here because there's no real competition and because we definitely don't have any public, or real public service for internet. So this is what we get. This is, I think, what they're trying to do with the post office now. You got FedEx, you got UPS, you got there was another one, UPL, something. And so you got all these different services, and quite frankly, they suck. I can go to the post office on a Saturday and get something sent out. Can't do that with UPS. And they'll do it for less. Because with them, it's a government job. It's their job to send stuff around. It's their job to, you're sending this to somewhere? Boom. That's the main thing. The main thing is do your freaking job. You get paid for it. FedEx, UPS, these places, we're here to make a profit. That's their focus. So they will cut corners on service to maximize the money they get. DHL, thank you for that. That's what it is. All those, FedEx is awesome. UPS, no, they're not. Their focus is not to give you a superior service. Their focus is to make major profit. This is why they're closed on Saturdays. This is why there's a certain period of time certain things won't get out. And they charge you way more for that inconvenience. You want to send something out? Postal Service. I've never had a problem with it. Rant over. Let's see what I missed. I've missed a whole lot of stuff. I'm going to have to cut this off soon. I'm way over. Look at this. It's already an hour. Didn't I say in the beginning of this, I said this was going to be short. I can't be on here loud now, and now it's almost an hour. I have a problem. So, nice Dark Souls sticker artwork. I'm just noticing that. Yeah, that is Vadividia's one. That's the same one. I'm a sucker for Dark Souls. The minute I saw this thing, like it was literally the day the video came out, and I saw this, and he was like, yeah, well, right now we're selling it for cheap. The video had barely ended. I'm already clicking on pay. I have a problem. I really do. I and this was hung up before, but now it's moved over here, and now we gotta find a place for it. But yeah, it's a great piece of art. I love it. Absolutely love it. Somebody already asked, am I going to be going back to reviewing jian from other sword manufacturers? That was Belayev Fox. I will say that soon you will be seeing me reviewing a sword from at least one other company. As far as Cold Steel and Dynasty Forge, it depends. LK Chen changed the game for me on sword reviews. Before last year, my sword reviews were few and far between because I was having to go out and get them with my own money. And I don't make a whole lot of money. And they're not exactly beating down my door to send me swords for review. I'm a nobody on the internet. I'm nothing special. So nobody's going to be kicking down my door to get me and send me anything. LK Chain kind of changed the game, at least as far as all these new swords I'm getting to review is coming just from them. So I mean, hell, if they're sending me stuff to review it, I'm gonna review it. Why not? But as far as these other companies go, if I see something that I think is interesting and I can afford it, then I'll go get it. So as far as anything from Dynasty Forge or Cold Steel, yeah, I'll if I see something that interests me, I'll go out and grab that, and then that's how I'll do it. Now, that being said, it also isn't just if I can afford it. It's also if I'm going to be interested in it. Like originally, the reason why I had swords was to practice with. Honestly, that's another reason why my sword reviews are few and far between. Because when I got a sword, it was because I wanted that sword to actually practice with. I really didn't want a sword collection per se, and in fact, I'm now seriously thinking that I might have to start selling or giving some of these away. There's some like certain ones that were given to me as a gift that I'm not going to give them away no matter what. But then there's others, I don't know. Anyway, these are swords that I was going to use, and believe it or not, most of the Chinese swords that I have, I've been practicing with in one, at some time or another. At least up until the LKJ showed up. Though even those, I try to at least get my hands on them and do at least a little bit with them here and there. But my intention was never, I'm just going to get me a whole lot of swords and go crazy with them. That's why you don't see, for instance, a whole lot of long swords here, even though I like long swords. This is why you don't see a lot of rapiers here, even though I like rapiers. I don't train with those. I happen to have this sort of rule where I don't like keeping weapons in my house if I don't know how to use them. I think it's probably a practical rule that a lot of people should follow. Like, you really shouldn't have any sort of weapon if at least one person in the house needs to know how to properly use and maintain those freaking things. If you don't, why the hell is it in the house? Because not only is it a waste of money and a waste of space, but it's a dangerous item, and sooner or later someone's going to do something stupid with it and get damaged with it, because there's nobody in there with any freaking common sense to properly maintain or use it. So that's why, generally speaking, at least for the longest time, I only had swords that I practiced with, and it was a very small number of weapons. So now, even though things have kind of changed a little bit with the whole LKJ situation, there still are weapons that I know how to use, more or less. I have some level of skill, and I at least know how to maintain them. But this doesn't mean that I suddenly want this to be a super sword channel where now it's time to review swords from all over the place. Let's see if I can get my hands in this falchion, and then maybe grab on this, this one messer, and I'll grab this one long sword. Nah, that's not what's going to happen here. But it's also the same thing with Chinese swords, because I'll see a Chinese sword that some people may go, that's awesome. And I'll look at it and go, oh, I can tell that's going to be a piece of junk. I'm not even going to think about buying that one. So I guess to answer the question of, am I going to be reviewing swords from other companies? Short answer, yes, because there's at least one showing up here that's from a different company, and that one's going to be fun to review. But for the most part, like as far as other companies go, I have to see what they have, if it interests me, and if I can afford it. And if all those boxes are ticked off, then yeah, I'll grab it and I'll review it. So, close enough to be affected by whatever's happening. I really hope I'm all right down there. Please stay safe. I'm staying as safe as I can. That was from Nelliot, by the way. Remember? No, Nayot, not Nelliot. Sorry, Nayot. I live like an hour and a half from Seattle, so I'm I'm not really affected that much from what's going on there. However, there are also protests happening near where I live too. So all I can do is just keep my head down. I also work kind of close to Seattle. All I can do is tell you I just keep my head down, my own business, and I'm able to more or less do okay. Okay, so Scott McGregor is like, I'm interested in seeing a basics of Chinese swordsmanship video. I'm hesitant on doing that for the same reason why I'm hesitant to show any sort of Chinese basics. Really, if you ever noticed, all the videos I've done where I'm actually just talking about certain moves or describing certain type of skills, you notice they're very basic, and they don't really go. I'm not trying to make instructional videos, and I'm not really trying to go into depth of this is how it's done, because I don't consider myself an expert. I know the channel is called Sword Sage, but that's just it. The channel is called Sword Sage. I don't think I'm at that level yet. It represents a level that I want to reach, but I don't think I'm that good. And because I'm not comfortable, I don't think I'm that good, I'm not comfortable putting out anything that would suggest that I am. So, even with basics and all that, it's like, okay, maybe it's because I'm looking at this from the outside. Like, if I was seeing a video like that and I questioned the person's skills, I'd be like, why the hell is this guy showing anything? Even basics, I'll be like, okay, why are you demonstrating this? Do you have do you at least know what you're doing? And I know other people have told me that I'm at least good enough to show some basic stuff. I don't know about that. I really don't want to come off as an expert. Like, I mean, there's some, to be honest, I have shown some basics. I have shown some drills, because that's the type of stuff that I think anybody can be able to pick up in a couple of minutes. But as far as like if somebody was saying, for instance, can you at least show basics of what you're supposed to be doing? Maybe I might want to do something like that. Like for instance, okay, you got the sword in your hand. What's your strategy, or what's your thesis? What's the thesis of your style? Because all styles basically have some type of combat thesis, like what they believe is what's their strategy, what's their technique, what's the whole thing built around. Like, to pick up everybody's favorite whipping boy, Wing Chun, that thing's central thesis is close range fighting and protecting your center line while disrupting the other person's, right? So most of the techniques are going to be built around that. That's your thesis. And therefore, these techniques are built around, it's around doing that. Or Baguazhang, which is my personal one to practice. The thesis of that one is attacking them in off angles that will throw them off balance. That whole circle walking stuff, it's basically doing two things. When you're training in it and you're walking circles, it's to teach you to be able to move from positions that you're normally not comfortable in. Because really, when you're in a real fight, many times you find yourself thrown into a position that you're not comfortable in. You have to be used to being thrown off balance. The other thing is being able to attack somebody or disrupt somebody from an angle that they're not used to. Most people are used to horizontal and no. Actually, yeah, the way I like describing it to people is most people are used to moving around in a cross type formation. You move forwards, you move backwards. And when you're moving sideways, you move straight side to side. People don't move in diagonals. They're not used to that. It's because the way you're balanced, you don't walk that way, you don't move that way, you don't see that way, you don't function that way. Not really. You have to be trained for that. So no matter how good a fighter you are, many times when they're coming at you from the obliques, you're not ready for it. And Bagba's whole combat thesis is attack them on the obliques. You'd be amazed how much you can throw somebody off. Like somebody who's like heavier than you, stronger than you, you get them on the obliques, you find it's ridiculously easy to suddenly throw them off balance. It's hilarious sometimes. It doesn't really take much. So that's that combat theory. If you're going to be asking me, like, can you show like basic ideas of what the combat theory of Chinese swordsmanship is like? I might be willing to do something like that, because there is a combat theory to it, believe it or not. And this basic thing is don't hit steel. If I was to sum it up in one word, it's like, don't waste your time hitting the steel, hit the flesh. That's what's causing the problem. And to be fair, you can say that almost about any particular sword art, but I notice a lot of other arts spend a lot of time on block the blade this way and then come in this way, redirect the blade here, come this way. Chinese swordsmanship has techniques like that, but ultimately they're trying to get you to not really focus too much on the other person's blade in so much as you hitting it. The really good swordsmen are not trying to hit your blade. They're trying to hit you. And that's why the footwork is so important. So when the guy's coming at you like with that swing, the most basic move, they'll tell you, oh, the attacker's coming in this way, block it. First level defense they want you to do is not even block it. They want you to, like, you put your weapon up kind of like, you put your blade up kind of between you and them. It's like your shield. So the weapon glances off yours so you can then come around and redirect and hit them. But what they really want you to do is instead of hitting the blade, you step out the way of the blade and hit their hand. That's really what they want to do. So if I like, maybe I could show some stuff like that because I could show some basic stuff of like what they mean by that. But one, I would feel better doing that if people understand that this is just me like give you an idea of what it is. This is not me showing you how to do it, and this is me not putting on airs and proclaiming something about myself that isn't true. You know, I'm not a master. I don't have a school, and I don't think I'm at that level to be able to do that. I don't want to defraud anyone. So I'd have to be careful if I do a video like that. And I definitely would feel better if I had somebody else there who definitely was an expert to be able to go, yeah, this is the way to do it. Which is why I really need to, I am really hoping that things normalize to some extent where I can at least go back to the school that I was training at so that I can ask, like, you don't mind if, I put a camera on and you guys can like show some stuff here and there? That would be awesome. That's what I would really want. But until then, it's just me. And I spend a lot of time, to be honest, second guessing myself on what type of stuff I can show on camera. And that's also part of the reason why I haven't done a basics video in a very long time, because I really, ever since my trip to Canada to visit Skull, I've been really self-conscious about what I portray on video. I've been self-conscious about it before, but it was after like I was on there and I was cutting stuff up. I'm like, I really don't want people to get the wrong idea. So, maybe I'm overthinking this. It wouldn't be the first time, but I really consider myself to be, I like Chinese martial arts. I practice it when I can. I love this stuff. I love talking about it. But as far as my level of skill, I think I'm mediocre at best. So because of that, I really am hesitant and like, just like, I'm awesome. And hell, I regret the name of the channel, to be honest. But I never thought I would have a channel where I was doing videos to begin with, so I wasn't thinking when I put the name on there. All right, so God, this is really good. I'm gonna quickly go through as many. Like, I'm gonna see which questions that I think are interesting enough to answer real quick, and then I'm gonna have to cut this off because it's already past an hour. I'm quickly scrolling through that. Someone's asking, is that a Tai Chi style jian? Okay, I'm going to answer this simply because it's something that it is a slight pet peeve, but I'm holding nothing against you for asking that question. I blame marketing. I know people see this and they go, oh, that's those Tai Chi swords. That's a Tai Chi jian. Technically, there's no such thing. It's sort of like seeing a long sword and going, oh, that's a Capoferro sword. Actually, no, what I just said was completely wrong because Capoferro didn't teach longsword. He taught rapier, didn't he? My ignorance shows! Anyway, you guys get what I'm talking about. Like, swords are swords. Back then, there were plenty of people, like during the Ming and Qing dynasty area, there were plenty of people using this who didn't practice Tai Chi Chuan. They practiced other styles. Or they just simply did weapons and that was it. So... yeah, like these, I guess typically speaking, like if you want to go with the popular vernacular and you want to go with like, okay, well, on the market, the typical image you see of the Tai Chi sword, yeah, this would fit the bill. But technically speaking, there really is no such thing as a Tai Chi jian. It's just a jian. If you were speaking in Chinese and you're talking about a Tai Chi jian, they would think you were talking about the style. Oh, you know the Tai Chi jian. Which one do you know? The 32 movement? Like that's what they think you're talking about. Like the sword itself, it's just a sword. It's just a straight sword. So, but yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. I keep hearing that over and over again. And I'm like, don't get mad at them. They just don't know. Because most of the time, most people don't know. It's not like everybody out there is learning how to use swords or know the history of it. We all drive cars, but many of us don't really know the history of how cars were made. Or like what type of engine is in there, or This one, if you had known, you would have known that this particular engine came out only in this particular year, and they only had 3 versions of it. Like, when you're into something, you're really into something, and not everybody on the outside knows of it, which is why I'm not going to jump down somebody's throat for using the wrong terms, but doesn't mean I'm not going to try to educate either. Do I have any videos on the Kangxi Baodo? No, I do not. Might as well address this right now. I know there have been a lot of people like, can you please show something on the Dao? Can you please show some basic Dao techniques? But I've trained more with the Jian than the Dao. I'm sorry. I mean, if I get my hands on the weapons, I could talk about those. But as far as basics and movements and stuff like that, if you think I'm hesitant on the Jian, and I've actually done some training with that, a weapon I've barely done any training, and I'm definitely not comfortable showing any basics for that. So if some people came on there hoping to see that, sorry to disappoint. Sorry. I'm sorry. Thanks for the... Oh, and everybody who basically showed their appreciation or some kind of compliment. I'm not going to be able to get to you guys all personally, but thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it, especially since, again, this is just a hobbyist channel. I do this for fun. It's nice that there's some people who have been able to contribute on Patreon. And, oh, that's something else I forgot to mention. Thank you very much for the people who've been contributing to Patreon. You guys fill up my gas tank. Seriously, thank you very much for that. It really does help. Someone behind. Always warn streaming someone so far it's not turned out to be a serial murderer. That's another reason why I always make sure that the screen is in front of me too, so I can see if somebody's coming up from behind. It helps. Maybe I'm paranoid, but it helps. Further questions after the stream ends. Yeah, I'll try to look through the questions. Sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes I get ideas for videos by looking at the questions. I'm like, oh, I could talk about that later on. So I will look through them. I'm trying to look through them right now, actually. Excuse me. Sorry I'm late. How you doing? I'm doing just fine. You know, some neon. That's what I'm talking about. Cyberpunk. So, like I said, elsewhere, they get the cyber, but the punk aspect flies over their heads. Yeah. That pretty much, they just don't understand. The whole thing is about surviving in a dystopian future where basically the bad guys won. That's the, if people want to get an idea of what the setting is for Cyberpunk, the bad guys won and you're dealing with it. I actually like a lot of RPGs like it, to be honest. It was one of the things that briefly got me into the White Wolf games because that was another one where the bad guys won, or if they didn't, they were going to win. And it's also the reason why I hated when they revamped it. I hated what they did to Mage, because the first White Wolf game I got into was Mage. And I loved Mage. And they fucked Mage up. And then everything was about the vampires and how tough the vampires were. And woe is me, vampires. I got sick of the freaking vampires, but everybody wanted to be one. The werewolf games weren't too bad. And the Puka books were also pretty good. But the whole, it's been years now, so I can reveal the secret if you didn't know yet. The secret of the original White Wolf games was that the end of the world was coming and the humans were going to lose. That was the setting. People didn't realize it yet, but the whole thing was like the people that were fighting against the forces of darkness, they knew they were going to lose. What they were doing was damage control, so that when the freaking sword of Damocles finally fell, they at least had some form of resistance to keep some remnants of humanity alive and like not being just complete, just livestock or cannon fodder or whatever. That was the premise. So having this doom over your head and trying to figure out what to do about it makes for some really interesting role playing. And Cyberpunk kind of fits that. But you're already playing in the aftermath. The bad guys have already won. Governments have toppled. Corporations run everything. And it's just crap everywhere. You got a bunch of greedy bastards just running the show and treating most of human life like, just toys to mess around with and manipulate or just to throw away, which is why life is cheap in Cyberpunk. You ever notice the game? Hell, you look at just the footage for Cyberpunk 2077. Look how nobody seems to give a damn about putting bullets in the back of people's heads. Like it's nothing, because life is it's like it is worth nothing at that point. You're just something to be used. You guys saw the latest trailer, like when he goes into the bar and you get the Johnny Silverhand drink, and your character asks, well, what do you got to do around here to get named after? You have to die in a spectacular fashion. Live fast, die young. That's the best you can hope for. That's the type of world it is. So yeah, everything's going to be effed up. To then see a game like that with that type of premise and then go, you need to lighten the tone. Okay, so Steam has a history of games which require tampering to start. I'm not really sure about that, but I guess some of them. Good news, the Disney trilogy. Yeah, I've heard that rumor too, Demo. Demo Man talking about the Disney trilogy might be wiped from it. That's interesting news. I can't help but say that it puts a smile on my face, but at the same time, it makes me feel really, really sad. Again, this is probably a video I should do later on, but the fact that you wasted all those years coming out with a set of movies that you didn't even have a full plan for. You didn't plan out your A to Z trip. You just had, okay, first movie, what are you going to do? Okay, fine, great, go. Second movie, okay, fine, great, go. And then it doesn't match the first movie. Then the third movie is pure damage control that doesn't please anybody. You wasted all that time and all that money for something that you're now thinking that you need to throw away. And not only that, but the three actors that the fans desperately wanted to see back on film and together again, you wasted that moment. And now it's gone. You'll never get it because Carrie Fisher is dead. Harrison Ford wants nothing to do with the series now. The only one who might still be somewhat gung-ho about it is Mark Hamill, who's always been a major fan, but he's getting old. We had one shot. They had one job. Show a freaking a full Jedi Master Luke doing his thing. They had one job and they fucked it up. I don't think they're gonna get another chance. And that's why I feel bad about that news. Like now we're just gonna throw all that away. I know some people are really happy about that, but I'm just looking at the overall, like I'm putting it in context. I'm thinking about that going, that's really sad. Just think about like all that wasted. Okay, any chance I've done a video on Dragon's Dogma? I have never done a video on it, but that's because I hadn't really played it up until recently. And I haven't gotten that deep into the game yet, but so far I like what I see. Who knows? Maybe I might. I will say this. If you're hoping for as deep a passion as I have for the Dark Souls games, that's probably not going to happen. This is not saying that the game isn't good. It is, but I just don't get that same. Who knows? My mind might change as the story progresses, but for now. Okay. Mall of blood in this country. Looking for questions. Look, you guys got some interesting comments in here, so I don't mean to let you zip by your comments like they're not worth anything. Am I going to get the Guan Yu halberd? I've been thinking about it. I mean, I already have that Pudol from Hanwei that I was able to get from Skalgrim. I really like that thing, and I really need to hurry up and do a video on that one. But as far as the Guan Yu halberd itself, it depends. Maybe. I'm thinking about it. It's a long distance thing with Skalgrim. Love your camera. Yeah, I really do. We need to set something up with Skull. Like I hesitate to say this because I don't want people thinking that I'm writing his coattails or anything. I'm not. Because again, what he wants to do with his channel and what I want to do with my channel are two different things. I get scared every time I see my numbers going up. Call me stupid all you want. I don't think you'd be wrong. He's a natural at this. Like, he's really good. He's got great charisma on camera. He knows how to present his videos. He's a straight consummate professional on what he does. And it's obvious that he's doing this to put food on the table. And I think he's doing a really good job of it. And it hurts me sometimes when YouTube screws things up and makes it harder for him to do what he needs to do. I don't view my channel that way. And that's why it's not big, and I don't have really cool intros or anything like that. And I don't have people. This is a hobby for me. This is just, I do this for fun. And the day it ceases to be fun for me, I'm going to stop doing it. And it's not really going to hurt me because I already got a day job. Sure, everybody has dreams of making that one video that suddenly catapults them into $1 million status, but that's it for me. It's just a dream and a very small one at that. It's not anything that I'm really focusing on. And honestly, it's not necessarily something that I want either. I've seen what happens to people when things get big, and I've seen their comment sections. And I know my personality. I know some of the things I like to talk about. I don't need that drama. Really don't. Having said all that, I say all that just to let you guys know that when I say that, yes, Skull is one of my best friends, it's not me saying that because I want, oh, you guys are that cool. You want to get, no, it has nothing to do with getting more subs. I've known the dude way before his channel got big. I've known, like, he used to be like a fan of my channel. Still is. It's not like he doesn't watch them, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's part of the reason why that chemistry was there. We had already known each other for a while. We were already having conversations with one another, like, chats on, Discord or Skype or whatever. Like we still communicate. So it would be nice to be able to do a video again, but I know right now there's a lot going on in his end of the world. And I won't say there's a whole lot going on with me, but there are things that are kind of getting in the way and schedules not meshing up. But yeah, it would be really cool if I can, if we could do another video again. I kind of miss our Q&As because those were always fun. I definitely got to visit them again. I had visited them honestly just for a vacation. Like the videos that we did was like secondary. I went up there just to say hello to my friends. What's this? Is really a wedding also? Somebody mentioned SCP files, so I immediately went, what? Yes, I know about the SCP files. Okay. Because thoughts on wushu swords. Okay, this is again from Wing Zero. So I have one wushu athlete who stabbed her leg by accident with a wushu spear during a routine. Wushu swords aren't necessarily toys. That's true. They aren't necessarily toys, but they're not necessarily great for fighting. They're not made for fighting. I mean, yeah, you might accidentally stab yourself or hurt yourself with them, but that's because they're made out of metal. Doesn't necessarily mean that the metal is like the type of metal that you'd want on the battlefield. My opinion of wushu steel has not really changed over the years. If you're trained, they're good for what they're for. They are there for performance. They're there for a certain type of performance. And for what they need to do with it, it's made perfectly. If, however, you are actually training to use weapons, then yeah, they're not good. It's like using cap guns to learn how to shoot. It doesn't exactly mesh up. How often do I look at Chinese martial arts manuals? I used to research them a lot. I still check them out every now and then, but not as much as I did before, simply because time constraints. Having said that, there are 2 books that I picked up. One that's a manual, one that's not. I do actually plan on doing a video on those because I find them interesting. I just want to read through them first and really like thoroughly get an understanding of them before I put them up. But yeah, as far as like martial arts manuals go, I do check them out from time to time. I also like checking out, there's certain teachers whose styles of teaching I really like because they do a good job of trying to convey the information. And there's a lot of material that I would love to like talk about on here as well, particularly since I keep getting like questions every now and then. How should I start? What should I get if I can't go to a school? And some of the stuff that I've gathered over the years, I think would be a good start for some people. They're not, I got into a lot of heat for saying that, yes, you could learn basics off of a manual. I still believe that, but I believe that unless you actually have somebody who knows what they're doing to give you a sense of basics, it's going to be very hard. And the most you're going to be able to get off of that is basic movement. Having said that, if you actually do have a solid foundation under your belt, if you already have an idea of knowing what to do, and then you pick up a book, you'll have a better time, especially if the book is better. I look at it like learning any other skill. When you first start out and you pick a book on something rather than going to a school or course for it, it's going to be harder. But if you have some brains and a commitment, you can do it. If you, for instance, want to get your A+ certification or your Network Plus certification or something like that, you could go to a school or take a course for it. And yeah, it'll take a bit longer, but you have somebody there who already knows what they're doing, who's going to tell you exactly what you need to learn, how to go about it. They're going to give you exercises. You're going to go through those, and then soon you'll be able to pass the test. Or you can do what I did and just simply grab the materials yourself and study them and then go in and take your test. Yeah, you don't have somebody behind you showing you what to do. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tougher, but if you have a commitment to it, you can make it work. And it also it helped that, of course, that I've been dabbling in computers since '99, but that's a whole different story. The point is, a skill is a skill is a skill. You can pick up a skill many different ways. Some ways are easier than others. Some ways are not necessarily ideal. But if you got the commitment and the brains for it, you can make it work. Same thing for martial arts. But with martial arts, that being said, it does help having somebody there who knows what they're doing, because it is a physical skill and you are doing complex movements. So having somebody help you, explain some of those complex movements, it helps. But yeah, you were asking how often I look at Chinese martial arts books. Yes, not as often as I used to, but I still do check them out from time to time. And I did recently pick 2 things up that I would like to talk about at some point. Do I like Dynasty Warriors? This was coming from Fatty Wants a Cookie. I used to. My interest and dissatisfaction, my interest in Dynasty Warriors started dropping after about Final Fantasy. Why am I saying Final Fantasy? Dynasty Warriors. I'm tired. At around Dynasty Warriors 5 is when I started checking out. And they lost me when they started changing everybody's weapons. Once they changed people's weapons, that's when I was like, fuck it, I'm done. The older games were a hell of a lot of fun. The new ones leave a hell of a lot to be desired. Yeah, this would be a quick video 90 minutes later. You guys have every right to make fun of me on that one. So yeah, this will be a quick video 90 minutes later. Make it a meme if you want. I deserve it. Can you list some of those great Chinese teachers and their pros and cons? That's a whole video in and of itself, but I could just throw out some names real quick. Adam Hsu is probably my favorite overall teacher. He's not everybody's cup of tea because he's a realist. He also has very strict standards on what it means to practice Chinese martial arts. And even other teachers disagree with him on some of those points. But the one thing I can definitely say about Adam Hsu is that he's real. He pulls no punches, and he has no tolerance for fake crap in Chinese martial arts. From the very beginning, ever since I started looking at his writing, his essays on martial arts, I'm like, I wish I was in this guy's school. Like he's somebody who I'd say is a technician. But I think that in general, I'm planning on doing a video on this too. I got too many freaking videos that I want to do. Generally, when I see instructors or like people who call themselves masters in Chinese martial arts, I tend to see 3 levels. The first level is the guy who's the straight up fighter. Like he actually used this stuff to go out there and beat people up, or he had to use this to fight, like to save his life, to put food on the table. These are the people who know their techniques work because they use them, and it saved their ass. And that's exactly what they're going to show you. They're not there to teach you enlightenment. They're not there to show you fitness, though they do know you're going to be fit doing it. They're there to teach you how to lump people up. Period. You don't have that many teachers like that anymore, especially with the traditional artists. You'll find those little. The more recent the martial art, the more likely you'll find somebody like that. I've noticed. This is not to say that you won't find traditionalists who still use it this way, but they're very few and far between. The next batch of guys are what I like to call the technicians. Now, these are the people who tended to train under the guys who knew how to fight, who fought for a living or who fought to live. These are the guys who trained under them and got good at it, to the point where the fighter is looking at them going, yeah, you absorbed my material. But the technician may not have necessarily gotten into as many life or death battles or whole and diminished condition battles as they did.
Did I come down this way?
He did, but then he came back up. At least I remember him coming back up. So if he's hiding somewhere, I can go search for him. I need to cut this off soon. Now I'm looking for my son. But yeah, the point, I better hurry up with this. The technicians are the guys who trained under the guys who knew what to do. They may not necessarily have the same experience. But because they didn't necessarily have the same experience where it's like, okay, I'm in a life or death situation, use these techniques, they had more time to experiment. So they became the technicians. These are the guys now who can really analyze techniques and break them down and come up with some really cool stuff. Or like, because they got time to do it. When you're in a situation where you need to feel like, look, I need to use what works right now. You don't got time to freaking play around with stuff. You just use what works. Now, if you're no longer in that situation where you got to worry about something about to smash your face in, then you might, okay, maybe if I did it this way, and then you got time to practice it. That's the technician. And the advantage of the technicians are they're able to go further with their art, but they still have that foundation from the fighter to know what they're doing. Like the fighter made sure that whatever the hell it is that they're working on still works. And they're still going to train them in a way that they would still survive in the life of that struggle. The third level of guys are the guys who train under the technicians, who are even further removed from the reality. And because the technician was coming up with stuff, now they're coming up with stuff, but since they're so far removed, they usually don't know how to fight. Or worse, they start making up crap that has nothing to do with martial arts. And unfortunately, most martial arts today are taught by those third level guys. Adam Shu is what I would put on a high-end second level, where he's trained. It's obvious he trained the guys who know how to fight. And the stuff he does shows that he knows how to fight. He's definitely what I would say is like a technician. And he also still has that kind of realist view of, look, Kung Fu was used to destroy. You preserve yourself and destroy whoever the hell was in front of you. You didn't use it for enlightenment or get Dragon Ball Z powers. And that's the way he portrays it. And I've always liked that about him. And I noticed the students that trained under him or people who trained under him have that same mentality. Ted Mancuso is another person who I would put at that level, and he's really good. I really like the way he trains. I'm sorry, I don't get the camera here.
I'm trying to put him to bed, but we can't find him.
Aye. Guys, I'm gonna need to cut this off because I gotta get my kid. All right, thoughts and Chinese, but I just got a paid question. All right, let me hit this paid question real quick, and then I gotta get going because my son is not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Wing Zero, finally. Why practice the traditional when any of the national team guys in China, like their boxing and the teams, could crush them? To quickly answer, like if you're just doing it purely for practical reasons, that's a really good question. Why would you? But then you got nuts like me who know that, okay, these arts used to be used in life or death situations. The knowledge is there. The treasure is there. It's just now you got to work a little bit harder to find it. And to be fair, a lot of arts that people used to use, that, recent ones are kind of going the same route. Even boxing, people are noticed like that. I've noticed old school boxers knocking the newer school guys, saying that these guys don't know how to properly box. Like straight punches are barely used now, except for the jab, and the jab doesn't have the power that the straight blast used to. Like you'll find this sort of degrading thing happening. So, I mean, honestly, if I'm going to give a really quick answer, it's because we still find value in it. Some people find value that has nothing to do with the fighting. Some people like the movement. Some people like keeping certain traditions alive. People like me, I practice it because I know there's some good stuff in there. Some of that stuff has actually kind of kept me from getting broken to pieces. It's just that you got to find it. And you got to find the right person to show it to you. Now, there was other stuff I wanted to touch on here, but I got an adult. So, hope you guys got something out of this. Hope this was fun for you guys. The sword reviews video should be coming soon, and then I got other stuff I need to do that'll come soon. I'll keep you guys updated on what's coming down the line. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's a Tuesday night. Who the hell will be doing this on a Tuesday night? So I appreciate you guys for showing up, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves. And I'll catch you guys later. Okay, end stream.